James, you bring that extension lead in. There's one at the front room. I just need it. Sorry, Dave, I'm messing around here.
Oh, yeah, all right, mate. Go on. I've got time. I'm just literally just about to share it all out and that. So yeah, no problems at all.
That should do it.
We are live, just so you know, just so just updating all the wording on the post because it's for some reason it comes up with something completely different. I don't know why. I've been trying to work it out all summer, but still haven't been able to work it out. Stay on at the end 'cause I've got something to tell you at the end. I meant to say to you beforehand, but I'll let you know at the end.
Okay.
I need somebody like Malden's got to sit behind me and do all this for me to make my life easier. If only. Oh, it's Steve as well. That's bring Steve in.
Well, you want me to take some clothes off? What do you want me to do?
Hello, Steve. We are live, just so you know. How are you?
Right, I'm all right. Yeah, that's great. I'm sorry for
Go on, mate. Sorry. Good.
sorry for the lateness. I was racing in the car.
You're okay, mate.
I'm actually at St Blazes Social Club.
All right, okay.
We've got a representative game tonight that we've got half a dozen of our under-16s playing.
Right, okay.
Steve,
before we start, let me introduce you. We've got Gavin MacPherson, the manager at Enfield Town.
Hi, Gav.
Steve, good to meet you, mate.
And you too, pal. You too, mate. Yes.
Well, welcome to the Reposs Non-League show, and the summer is long gone, and we are back with season 15. in the longest running independent non-league show. And I'm really pleased to say I've been joined by two really good friends for episode 1 of the new series. And of course, we've got the one and only, the living legend himself, Mr. Gavin MacPherson, of course, at manager at Enfield Town. Evening, Gavin.
Evening, mate. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. And talking of real living legends as well, Mr. Steve Massey down at Helston, and it was a privilege to meet you. Great always to have a chat.
An old one, David. Now,
Well, I mean, looking at this, so if we start off with, say, like, pre-season itself. I mean, how pleased? If we start with Gavin, I mean, how pleased have you been so far, Gavin? With pre-season, and have you been out to see any other games at teams that have impressed you in pre-season?
Yeah, well, our pre-season, relatively pleased. I mean, you're never totally with it. There's always games that you have ups and downs in pre-seasons. Lulls a lot of the time. You always look at a certain time in pre-season and you think if the lull's going to come, it'll come today because they've worked hard. They've had a lot of training, a lot of games in quick succession. But relatively overall, we got off to a really, really good start. Played AFC Wimbledon the first game and we're up at half time. So you might say they're strongest against our strongest. And then went a bit wobbly in the second half with a trialist. But look, overall, what do I look for? I look for the fact that they're doing the sorts of things I want them to. Results, you can be 3-1 up with 20 to go. You can make 11 changes and lose the game 4-3 quite easily. So results for me sometimes are immaterial. It's all about seeing the types of things that we need to see. If you'd have spoke to me a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't pleased. Didn't think that was coming. Since then, I've seen that improvements, and we're probably about where I would expect us to be honest.
And turning over Arsenal was a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd love to say Arteta was in the dugout next to me, and there was, some Premiership players. I mean, look, there was a mixture, I think, of their 18s and 21s, but I think a similar side they took to Chelmsford on Saturday. No slouches at all. Good young players, really good young players that you'd expect from a team like Arsenal. But to come out winners is good. That's a cherry on the cake. But actually, as I say, to see the bits and bobs that I was seeing during the game, the way we were functioning was a step on for me from what we'd seen in the previous game. So, all in all, we're in a half decent position as a manager. You always get grumpy. You always want a bit more. You always want to see a bit more. And we've got quite a difficult game to navigate tomorrow.
But if you've beaten Arsenal, I mean, you should beat the team you've got to play tomorrow by what, 10 or 12, shouldn't you?
I'm not getting involved in that as a Watford supporter.
It's Tottenham, by the way, Steve.
Yeah. I think Spurs are probably as good as it gets at that level at the moment, and I think they're bringing a very strong side. For me, I understand the revenue point of view for the club. I think we had a couple of thousand there last year, so I understand that side. The timing of the game is not quite what I would have wanted. I would certainly not have had a game tomorrow, so I've got to look at how we go about it. But all in all, we it's part of our pre-season schedule, so we need to be professional about what we're doing and against what will be a very good Spurs side.
I mean, that brings me to a question before I go to Steve about his pre-season as well for both of you guys. I was wondering this the other day because on the same day you took on Arsenal, I was down at Waltham Abbey watching them play Leyton Orient, and I think they had 1,600 in there on for that game at last Tuesday, and I was always that sort of concerned as well, thinking to myself, you're going up against a team like a league side, or I know that sometimes they're bringing in their under 21s, but they're still going to be of a really, really good standard. Why is it that clubs actually book those type of games in that close to the end of the season? Because surely as a manager, if you get an absolute thumping, that's not going to do much for morale going into your first league game the following Saturday.
Yeah, you don't want that to happen. Definitely, I think the timing of the game is not brilliant, especially as we've now been given a fixture away at Torquay on Saturday, which obviously means just about the longest travelling that we do. So yeah, but you have to acknowledge that for clubs like us, it's revenue. It's good to have a club like that down, and we've played them in both of my previous seasons, but it's always been the first or second game, which
Mm.
is palatable. That's where you want it. That's where you
Yeah.
want it. It'll give you a good test at that stage, and you can focus on your out of possession stuff because there undoubtedly be a possession based side. So to be coming now is unconventional, but we've got to get on with it. And actually, I think it could be a plus if we do the right things tomorrow. I think it could be a morale boost.
Mm.
But as you quite rightly say, we've also got to look after ourselves. And what you don't want is a thumping to happen and be going off to Torquay with a little bit of morale down. But having said that, I think the guys will see it for what it is.
Mm.
I don't think the morale's down. We had some team building on Saturday. It's a great group of lads at the moment who have bonded very very quickly because we've got a few new ones in there, and I'm seeing all the positive signs that I want to see.
Mm. Steve, do you have the same situation with Helston? I mean, pre-season friendlies for you, and I mean, how,
Uh, it,
how have they gone? And
it
do you pick a?
yeah, yeah. It's just I'm smiling listening to Gavin there because that's I do feel for him. I mean, he's much younger than me. I've had 30 odd, 30, about 36, 37th pre-season management of in a managerial role, and I hate pre-season. I hate it. Players honestly think that managers and coaches are mushrooms because they keep them in the dark. This is during the close season because they keep them in the dark and feed them bullshit all the time, and that's how it is. And
Speak for
you know,
yourself, Steve. Speak for yourself.
and it's yeah, it's a period. Of course, you have to do, and it's non-league football.
Mm.
There, from what Gavin's saying there, it's the revenue is the biggest probably driver with the clubs at this level, and I've always thought that yeah, it's always nice to have those games, and as Gavin's just adhered to there about it's really really close. Those are nice if maybe that's the first one or the second game in, and you get a nice big revenue in there. You get the crowd. It's all bubbly. The season's starting again. But I fully understand where he's coming from. That yeah, it's great for the club and the revenue, and it can be a bit of a win situation if it goes really really well, and it's a real buzz for Saturday. But pre-season for me has always been just let's just get it started, and it's let's just get on with the competitive stuff and ready to go. But it's something that at Helston here we've had a complete reset from last season. There is just one player left from the squad last year,
Wow.
and that's the local boy Liam Eddy, who's actually taken over the skipper's armband. Actually, it's given it a new lease of life. But we've gone really really young. The average age of the side is probably 20s, 21. The number of the development team that we sort of bedded in last year in a number of games in that Southern League, with the 16, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, they're in the side, and they've started off really well. We've won the first two league games, and played very, very well. And unfortunately, we went out at the last minute. Well, it was a injury time winner. We got the fourth minute of injury time on Saturday to the FA Cup against the higher opposition, the Falmouth. But the boys played really, really well. The young lads showed up really, really well. They were it was a bit overawed with the occasion to start with in the first half, and there's certainly the game reflected that with the possession and territory. Certainly into with Falmouth, there was a boisterous crowd there. It's in the bowl at Falmouth, which is one of the iconic non-league grounds, particularly in Cornwall as well. And the lads, it was their first experience of certainly an FA Cup and of a crowd of that size as well. And it showed in that first half. But they had a pep talk from the new manager. We've also gone locally, and I've sort of appointed from within. He's served his apprenticeship, shall we say, with the third teams and the second teams, and he's done a very good job bringing the youth on, and appointed him first team manager this season.
Steve, when I came down in April, you had a young striker there. I think he was wearing the number 9 on that night. I think he had an injury, or he had quite a serious injury or something, and he was coming back. I think he was wasn't it? He had a heart condition. Was that the gentleman? I think he had a heart. Did he have a heart condition or something like that, where he wasn't well when he came back for his first game on that night when I came down, and he scored. I'm just curious if he's playing, and also there was a young black lad on the wing as well who's absolutely sensational.
Ah, yeah, Ossie. Yes, yeah. He's Ossie's been training well. He didn't quite make the squad for the first team on Saturday, but he's been doing really well. And I'm just trying to think who that would have been.
Didn't he have did he not have a heart condition or something like that he had and then he came back? I think it was like
No,
a
I
blonde lad,
can't.
a blondish lad up front. He definitely scored on that night.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
think what the young lad's name is. I'll go back in a minute and see if I can
But
find
it'll come to me. My
it.
my memory is
Yeah.
really poor. I can't remember what I had
I
for
mean,
breakfast.
but with that though, I mean, is it going great? Because I know when we spoke last about the squad, and you said you was going to have a complete refresh. So
Yeah.
really pleased with how that's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a real buzz. The whole idea was, I mean, December, as you'd be aware of, December the 10th last year, we went to Melksham on a trip. That was a trip up there from Cornwall out to Melksham on a Monday night. We were third in the table. We lost really narrowly that night, 1-0, but we were still third in the table. We didn't realise at that stage that was the second game of a 25 game run that would see us just have one win, and it just went. There was reasons for that. We did move 3 or 4 players on with the sort of discipline issues and things that had been with me 3-4 years, and had been there all the way to success through the leagues. But we decided that the match day experience towards the end of the season was not what we really wanted. The gates were being affected, and we had the majority of the squad, particularly over the last three seasons, so had been Plymouth based. We trained in Plymouth. The young lads that trained with the first team travelled up to Plymouth to train, and we brought all that back home again then, and we've gone particularly really local, and giving these youngsters, which we've had always has been the plan, to be perfectly honest, of breeding them in. And to be fair, we look back and yes, it was a real disappointment, and it certainly tears at your ego. It was the first time, even for the pro game and in non-league football, and that's 50 odd years now that I ever suffered a relegation. But I think it's going to be a huge, big blessing in disguise, and certainly this season we'll look back to it on it and think, yeah, it was a blessing in disguise. It would have been a bit ruthless with what that Southern League's about, with all our young guys, and just that division lower, that step lower, I think will be a better breeding ground or bedding in for our youngsters, and so has proved at the moment. They've really relished it. The crowds of it. I know we've only sort of, with pre-season friendlies and the games, we've had 2-3 games, but the crowds have been up. There's a buzz around the ground, and that's what we wanted to try and get back as a community club ourselves. That we thought we'd just lost that at the end of last season.
And we'll come back to you as well in a minute. I just want to talk to Gavin about his game because he's coming down. Well, not all the way to you, but he's getting closer. He's coming down to Torquay.
Yes, yeah, Torquay.
But
Yeah.
but we'll have a conversation in a minute about, of course, your link up as well, because it's a very exciting link up for Helston as well, which hopefully bring which will bring more sort of like success to the club as well. But I mean, Gavin, you've heard that. I mean, ever been in that situation where you've refreshed the team and you've got one left?
I don't think it was quite that, but yeah, not in the too distant past, really. As you probably know, Dave, we didn't have the greatest of starts to last season. Very difficult, because these were a lot of the players that I ended up releasing were players that had done really well for me at step 3, and it was emotional at times, because you don't want to have those conversations with people. But I was quite sure that, having looked at a number of games, having got to sort of October really, and felt that we were short, and we were a while short of it. So you have 2 options really. You stick with it, or you rip it up and start again. And someone said to me, you've rebuilt the plane as you were flying it, was the analogy that came through, because we did rip it up. We were left with still a few, not quite one, but a lot of those lads went, who I was very fond of and had done very well for me. So it was quite hard, but it proved to be the right thing to do. Our second half of the season form was, I think, 8th as opposed to second bottom in the first half. So that was the contrast. Um, and we went at it hard. Really, it was. I never. People have asked me that. Did I doubt? Did I ever think we were going to go down? No, honestly, I didn't. I never thought that, and I can absolutely understand why others would have thought that. And so many people I've spoken to since sort of looked at that Christmas marker, and I think losing to St Albans on New Year's Day and thinking, well, this is irretrievable. I never thought that, so we managed it. So we don't want to have a first half of the season like we had last season, that's for sure. But yeah, it's about the only time I've really ripped it up and left with it, and obviously completed the most difficult thing, which is to rip it up mid-season
Mm.
and then try and start again, which is obviously got all that getting the right players in, getting them grounded to what you want them to do. It's almost like doing pre-season again during the season. But we got there. We got there.
How difficult was it though? Did you feel? Because I mean, as and Steve may not know, but I mean, Enfield Town's support is probably second to none. In the passion and the way they support the club. I mean, when it was going through the tough times in that sort of that period of time, did they still stick with you? And were they still behind the squad?
I'm proud to say that they did. I'm sure there was a few dissenters, of course. That comes with the territory. But the vast majority of people that I experienced and I came across and just on the match day feel, because there was some dark days inside that initial period of the season. There was a couple of drubbings which you come off the pitch and you think, well, I've never experienced this before. And they were still there. They were still there, and to see them invade the pitch for the second time in 2 years for different reasons, to be honest, was was quite humbling. So yeah, they were absolutely superb. Everything that did it surprise me? No, it didn't. To be honest with you, it didn't, because I know those people around the club and they were extremely supportive, and it was humbling, and I don't take that for granted because 9 out of 10 teams in that situation, you would have got a few more turned. Let's be
Mm.
honest about it. But we got there, and it's now my job to make sure that we don't have that again. Certainly in that initial period of the season. So you know, Enfield, they did what Enfield supporters do. That's as simple as I put it.
Have you upset somebody though in the National League? Because I mean, I look at your fixtures. Away to Torquay to start, then you got relegated Maidenhead at home, then Hornchurch, then one of the title favourites Worthing away, then you got Totton, and then away to Slough. So your first three are sort of like probably three of the title favourites.
So many people have asked me about this, saying, and a few have used that term. Have you upset people? I'm not aware I have, but they probably want us out, mate. To be honest, but no. Do you know what? I've looked at it and thought, such is the league this season, and such is the standard of the league this season. I think you could have thrown in any one of, you could have changed those 3 teams, 4 teams out, put another 4 in, and you'd still be looking at it just being just as hard, just as hard. So the league has stepped on. There's no question about that. I think this league is going to be full time in a few years. I think that's where it will be, or that's where you'll need to be. Is the truth. We've now got quite a few full time teams in the league, and obviously we go to one on Saturday in Torquay, who with Paul, and obviously managed against Paul so many times. I've got a really poor record, I'm afraid to say, against him. But he's a good manager, and he's got a good club. And when you look around the place and you look at them and being full time, etc., etc., as a club you don't live with them. That's not where you live, right? But the fact is, we're on the same pitch and we're on the same league.
Mm.
So we're not going to go there and try and make up the numbers. We understand how tough it is, but actually, it's a hell of a league this season, that's for sure.
I got to ask you about your, I suppose I'd describe it as your Gulcares signing this year. I mean, he's Mr. Reynolds. I mean, that's a right bonus considering that, when you started last season, you just lost your star man, and now you bought in one.
I think it was a I think it was something that we struggled with, and this is going to be live TV for you. Because my brother-in-law's just about to knock on the door, which will mean the dogs will bark. But we don't. I can see him out the window. Look, last season, nothing against the guys that played for me. Good players, those in the forward positions. I just don't think we ever really got it right, is the truth. We're not a right fit for the team. And those lads will fit perfectly in other teams, there's no question. So I thought I made that my main priority really this season, to try and revamp that end of the pitch. It was the bit that we probably were lacking in the later stages of the season. Lamar, well, obviously aware of Lamar, but didn't really feel that you talk and you hope. But realistically, coming back from the Championship in Scotland, we felt that he was probably going to have other suitors that would outbid and outstature us. I mean, the only thing I can say is that from the early conversations, we sort of hit it off. Is the way it was, and I was really delighted when he had come down to Enfield. He got a feel for the place, he got a feel for what the supporters were like, etc., and decided actually his time of his career, for whatever reason, and I'll try and iron that out as we go. Enfield was a place for him, and we're really pleased to have him.
Perhaps he's looking forward to playing in the National League Prem next year.
I'm not going to go there, Dave, to be honest with you. I think the chairman would have that will send the chairman over the edge. Indeed, I think, if I'm honest. But let's just see if we can have a good season at step 2.
So tell us about some of the other signings you brought in this year, and some of the players that that have, you've had to let go as well. Some of the names that are no longer in the squad. In
truth, we spoke to about 7,500 players in the summer, I would say, somewhere around there. Look, in truth, when we're battling teams from the level and from the level below, and from the level below that, in some respects, I can tell you, we tend to not be able to have the draw financially. But we have to work smart. And Rory Donaldson, we picked up from Chelmsford. Just felt that he was the sort of player that I would want to bring in. He's a defender. He's quite versatile, left-footed, can play centre half, left back, can even play wing back. Played central midfield for them last season. But more the character for him, leader, someone that does things right, someone that talks well. So I was delighted with that one as well. We brought in Avan Jones. Av, for me, is an athlete. He was at Chesham last year, so in the league, played enough games to understand the league, having come out of Luton a few years ago. And he's one of those lads that wears his heart on his sleeve. And I can never have too many of those. Never have too many of those. And Tommy Wood coming in. Now, Tommy was a strange one, really, because we had him in last pre-season and he wasn't anywhere near fit. And then we played against him for Hornchurch, and he battered us around a bit, if I'm honest. We managed to sort of jump on him this pre-season. He's fit. He looks strong. He looks like he's going to be a handful for any centre halves this season. And then we've sort of pulled in Harry Lodvika, centre forward from Maidstone, in the closing. But look, Chucks went out. We had a few loanees at the end of the season, to be fair. So we lost those naturally. Chucks went out and he's gone to Worthing, and good luck to him. Jake Hutchinson at Folkestone and doing really well. But realistically, the rest of the squad basically stayed. The one that we probably didn't really want to lose was Lennon Peake. But the lure of Ebbsfleet was too strong.
And goalkeeper wise, you've lost one as such, but you've still got your FA Bars man.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I mean, I don't want to go too much into that, but Wright, he came in obviously when Reece got concussed, severe concussion. We had to bring a goalkeeper in because he had to have a few weeks out. Wright came in as an ex-Enfield keeper, popular, done really well for us, But my sense of loyalty, and people tell me I shouldn't have that, to both was there, because both had done very, very well for me last season. But the truth was we invited both back, but I think Righty, wanted some sureties in respect of it, and had a couple chasing him. So I don't blame him for making that decision to go to Waverley.
But I mean, all looking, I mean, you were going into this sort of season, and you still you sort of taking a sort of like a few deep breaths after the end of the last one, and then sort of now going into this one with a smile on your face, looking forward to it.
Of course, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, there's never a recovery. So many people said to me, did you have a good few weeks off? Steve will know that
No, yeah,
never ever happens. In
no,
fact, it probably gets more intense
it
once the
does.
season ends.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, look, at the moment, we realise how tough a start we've got on paper. I think this time last year we'd lost Marcus, we'd lost Taylor McKenzie, particularly in the week leading up to the season, which threw us completely all out.
Mm.
We're a bit more settled now, is the truth, and whether we can overcome Torquay, we'll certainly be trying to do that on Saturday. One thing I do know from this group is there is a never say die attitude. If you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us, and Torquay may well be good enough to do that. Let's be honest. But if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us because the boys will work very, very hard to not lie down.
No, absolutely. And of course, in your league last year, 'cause we got promoted in Truro, and of course that with you, Steve. I mean, is a nice connection now. You've got a connection in there with Truro.
yes, we have. I mean, my long connection with them as well. I managed them three times on three occasions, and played for them when I came out from the program in 88, 89. I had my last season playing there at Truro, and there's a connection. I don't know if Gavin, you were. I'm just as we're talking, I'm thinking Enfield. I know there's a big connection, Cornish connection, with Truro City and Enfield, with a guy called Ricky Prosser. Do you
Yeah, I
remember Ricky
definitely know that
Prosser?
name. Well,
Ricky
Dave
Prosser
will
was
know, I'm sure. Yeah,
he
definitely
was
know. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm going back into the 80s and 90s period, and he was one of the vice presidents at Spurs as well, and he actually brought one of the iconic games they had down there in Cornwall at the time. He brought the Spurs side down to Truro, played them down there, and Ricky loved it so much he actually became the Truro president as well. And he was a great guy. He used to come down in his roller, in his Rolls Royce, and he did like a drink. And to be fair, he did have a drink too. A number
What
of
football
times.
does to you, Steve?
Well, he did, yeah. But he was a great, particularly of myself. He was a great supporter of me. Ricky was, but he had his background and his roots were Enfield. He was very much involved at Enfield for years, and I'm sure there's people out there that would know Ricky. Unfortunately, is no longer with us now. I think his liver just couldn't stand it in the end. So, but he was a great guy. Yeah, but that was the connection. As I'm thinking of talking, I think I know I need Ricky Prosser, super guy, really was lovely guy.
Can I ask you one question before you talk to us about Truro? It's a bit of a funny question in a way. But a friend of yours has now gone back in as vice chairman of a club quite close to you, and you know who I mean, and in Cornwall. Is there any sponsors left because for you to actually get? Because since he's been back in there at vice chairman, he seems to have got every sponsor under the sun. All I keep getting is his notifications telling me that his club's got a new sponsor.
Which one? Which one?
I'm talking about Derek.
Derek. He messaged me continually throughout the saying, "Oh, Steve, what do you think? What do you think? You go back in there now." Now, if you listen to the different people you speak to, there's a different story, and that's Derek all over. There is no doubt in his enthusiasm. He's the most enthusiastic guy that I probably come across in non-league football. But he has now gone back in. Now, whether you want to draw your own conclusions, is that the chairman that went in and wanted to do things, and Derek's then, I don't know whether it was been whoever you speak to is dependent on whether Derek was asked to go back in, or thing was that Derek got himself back in and as vice chairman. And say I don't know whether it's and read anything into it, but the Mousehole chairman then resigned last week, and he's finished. And I did say to Derek, when I saw Derek the end of the following season, not just we'll go on there, the following season before, he looked 80 years old. Mm-hmm. And I said, Derek, what's you doing? I said, you all right? He said, oh, the stress of being chairman and things. And he took a year out, and he did keep asking me, because to be fair, he has a lovely place in Penzance. It's a lovely restaurant. They come camping, yeah. And they do great bacon sandwiches up there. And he's, come up, Mass, come up for a bacon sandwich. Come on, wait. I went up there during the close season, and what do you think? Should I go back in? I said, Derek, you saw yourself. You were poorly. You were ill. What do you want to go back in for all that again? Just watch from the outside things, But he's gone back in. And again, non-league does that to you, though. It just keeps a way of dragging you back in.
If Gavin don't know, we're talking about Mousel, and we're talking about Derek was the chairman. He took a year out. He's gone back in as vice chairman. Since he's been back in, if you actually follow on X, almost every week he's got 2 or 3 new sponsors. It's like just constant stream of new sponsors. The roads now happened. So they've actually had a road. So it's not going through the town anymore. It's actually coming off the main road, and they've actually managed to do that. Which, again, I know how much that costs because he told me. But it's weird stuff. How all of a sudden he's back in there, and all the sponsors have followed him back into that into that club. But
we'll see. We'll see how that develops.
It will do. Yeah, absolutely. So Trura, how did it all come about then? Was that through your connections that you've got that?
I did hear that. They certainly didn't want anybody on the pitch, and they just wanted the sole use for the first team, and they were looking to ground share to start with. And then I did hear rumours sort of inside that they would even maybe fold their reserve side and their youth sides, and they would just concentrate literally on the first team now. That was the priority. I mean, the stadium's having to, right at this moment in time, and it's just a building site at the moment, and they will have it ready in time. They've got to have it ready. But they've done some fantastic work up there. The pitch is a super playing service, but they just wanted it for the reserve side. I just thought it would be a nice. I'd actually we were going to do a sort of a tie up and a pathway between the two clubs, which I do believe. I don't know if it's. You're probably surrounded with a lot of clubs around there as well, Gavin. Probably with Enfield, we're in a little bit of a unique situation here where Troro's the first Cornish side to have even played at this level now. I mean, we don't have a professional side, but I do believe in the pathways and the link up that the senior side should be looking down, not in a condescending way. Of course, I didn't mean it like that, but we're looking down to actually where they can develop players, and the youngsters can come through and then get a pathway into that. And that's what I proposed to them, put to them, and said we will take care. Helston Athletic will take care of your reserve side. We'll bring it under our umbrella, if you like. It will still play as Truro City, and they will wear the kit as Truro City. In fact, they've got their first game on Wednesday night, and whether they wear the kit. But it's mainly made up of Helston Athletic players and 1 or 2 ex-Truro City players from last season. The management is of Truro City and our management as well. It's an exciting time, and I think Truro do reflect and acknowledge that there are a lot of talented youngsters down here in Cornwall, and well as the gap is really huge from where their second team reserve team is playing to the top level of non-league football now. We've come in and sort of bridge that a gap in between now. And the guys, and we've got a pathway, and we've put the youngsters, the youth side, will all go up and play their youth team games at the stadium as well under their lights as well, which is a great. It will be great experience for them. But the following season, it will be called. We're going to come away from the Truro City Reserves because Truro is called, or we've been renamed the Tinners, which it was called many years ago. Of course, got all the tin mining work that goes on and down there. That's their nickname, and they reflect the ground sharing or the sort of situation, the partnership that we have. The team's going to be called the Helston Tinners next season, which will be a new team name. But it gives our boys where we've got a unique situation that the players now playing, because you have to have the 2 leagues between each other, and we tasked the development team with getting promotion last year, and they failed it by both teams, actually, the first team and the reserve side. failed by 1 places. We were 4th from the bottom with, I think we were a point off the 5th place. But I think, as I alluded to earlier, that could be a blessing in disguise that we've actually gone down. And the reserve side finished runners up with all these young lads, an average age of 19, and they've all now gone into the first team. And so that's reflective of that, of where we are, that we've got our reserves, our first team, and then the Truro City reserve side, but they're a league apart, and that's really, really unique, and that's great. There's a squad of players that will play for, depending on form, fitness, availability, will play for one of the 2 teams, and they're all local guys as well. So it's a nice feeling, and it's worked out really, really nicely for us. Truro are delighted with it as well. We've taken on board everything that goes with it, the running of the second team, of their reserve side, and we've been tasked to finding the next Kiefer Moore, who, of course, I started off down on his route into the pro game and the World Cup, international football. I sold him to Dorchester when he came as a young 18, 19-year-old. He'd been playing at Paynton, and he'd been playing at Truro for about 3/4 of that season. And
isn't he very close at the moment to getting into? I don't know if he's signed or I know that there was rumours that he was going to Wrexham.
Yes, I know. That would be. To be fair, I did think that the Premier League was maybe just that a level above consistently to be doing it. I know he had a spell at one of my old clubs as well, Bournemouth. But I think in the Championship, he's a real handful, a real handful. The way he plays, a big target guy. And then, a number of years ago, what was that, back 2013, I think it was, when we sold him to Dorchester Town at the time. He was a skinny, lanky sort of centre forward that's learning his trade, and boy, has he done well. So we're after the next Kiefer Moore as well.
I mean, Gavin, I mean, one thing I will say, I was very lucky enough to go down and watch a development game with Steve in April, and he showed me around the ground, and the one thing that impressed me, and I say this to almost everybody now that talks to me about non-league football, and one of the things that sort of sticks in my mind about that visit was, I think you'd be very, very hard to find a better home dressing room than Helston's.
Yeah.
It is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, if there's a chance that Steve can send you pictures later on, I mean, it is incredible. It's Premier League standard. It is phenomenal.
Well, it was actually, the guys that put it in was they're called sports lockers, and their last 2 jobs before they came to Helston was at Crystal Palace and Crystal Palace and good, but it was, I want to say Watford. So they knew their stuff.
Yeah.
And it was it's really like badge on the floor and all the lockers and things and whatnot, so yeah, and you saw it. That's 7 years old now, Dave. Yeah. That's 7 years old now. And it still said it was just something when I first came in, I just thought we'd been in the lower, we'd just been in senior football a couple of seasons, and thought the impression is nice to actually have a facility where players like to come into, and they can see the ambition actually in the dressing room and things, and that's been reflected the last few seasons with the success that we've had. Although a relegation this year will whisper that quite.
I mean, are you confident you're going to get back up though this year?
No, not this. I mean, yes, of course we're going to go into every game to win it, and actually the defeat on Saturday in the FA Cup into that 4th minute of injury time was our first defeat of the season, including pre-season games and things. But I've said to Dan, like I said to the former manager Matty Kuzak, I said when he came in, he had the 3 years, and when he first came in, I said to him, it'd be great. So there's a plan for 3 years. So let's get to the Southern League in 3 years, and we did it in 2. And we started off superbly well, and we were really going around. We're thinking, blimey, we're going to have to maybe look at budgets for the following season. We're going to be in the playoffs at least. But it's the reality that's set in, and where we are. It's difficult with our locations, and geographically as well. But I've said to the new gaffer that let's have this season at it. Let's have a good cup run, it'd be nice to bed in with this with the Truro reserve sides as well and the squad and utilising those players in both teams. And we'll have a go next year. Have a go next year for at least the playoffs.
Well, funny you say that, Steve, because I think there's a certain person on this live thing had the same message, didn't you, Sarah? And about we'll for the first season, let's sort of like level ourselves off and then go for it the season afterwards. And well, you can tell Steve what happened, Gavin.
Well, first of all, I think it was a sensible approach from the club. New manager coming in, I think it was a top 10 finish that was what I was set. And I think that was really sensible, because I think the club had a little bit of a reprogram after several seasons, and but we came third and won the playoffs, and went up, which I think right up to the final whistle in the playoffs was probably not expected. If I'm honest, we certainly punched above our weight without a doubt in the league that we were in, but it was never in my makeup to finish 10th or 9th. I always felt quietly that we could do something. We brought the right players in to be able to do that, and I'd inherited some good lads as well. There's no question. And it all sort of happened, and I think we remember looking at each other on the coach back from Chatham, which was obviously our playoff final, and looking at each other amongst the chairman and the board and thinking, right, what next? What now? Because we've just gone and put ourselves into a completely different bracket of football, and that it is. But listen, you can't choose when you go up. That's my view.
Absolutely, yeah.
It never really happens when you think this should happen in this way, and it very rarely does.
I mean, the funny thing, there's a funny story to that as well, Steve, and I've spoke to Gavin about this before. At the time I was there doing some commentary and stuff for them and on their games, and I mean, as you know, Steve, as well. But I was doing all that, and the press gentleman Andrew, who does all the press for it. He sits quite close. He was sitting quite close to me, and when Gavin came in, I said, "Well, he'll win something for you this year. He'll win something." And I got, no, he's been told he's got to do this, and a bit what Gavin just said. It's I'm telling you now, you will win something. And then it got to a stage, of course, where the League Cup went awry. There was a European competition that, something semi-final in that. And he said to me, "I thought you told me we were going to win something." I said, "It's all right, don't worry. I'm still sitting there quietly confident." And of course, ended up winning the playoff final. And of course, the first thing I did before even congratulating Gavin was text Andrew and go, "I told you so."
Yeah, brilliant.
But it was funny. But I mean, with this year though, I mean, is there teams other than yourselves sort of around your different areas, around the London area, around the Cornwall area? Is there, and we start off with the London area first, is there teams that you've seen, maybe not at your step, but steps below 3, 4, whatever, that you look at and think team to look out for this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's listen, we played Wingate Finchley the other week. They were good side. But I think in that division that we came out of, when you look at Chatham having now gone full time, and this is step 3, Steve, full time teams in there now, and you look at Billericay, which is the obvious, going in there, Dartford running it close last season. That's a hell of a division below us. And when you look at some of the things that happened at step 4, with a team that's Essex based, some of the reported things that are going on there, you're looking at it around you and you're thinking, well, these clubs' spending power is far bigger than ours, and you're talking about some respects two leagues below it. So I think the knock-on effect from our division having gone up a couple of notches, in my opinion, is probably had an effect a little bit lower down, because you see teams now like Chatham who are going full time and obviously trying to get into step 2. Billericay, as we know, have got huge aspirations to do that and haven't quite managed it over the last 2 seasons with Gary, but I think they'll be very, very strong this season and surely must go close. But as I say, teams like Wingate and Finchley, good sides, really, really good sides in and around us. And Steve alluded to it earlier that the geography for us is huge. That teams within a few, a couple of miles, lots of them dotted around, and you've only got to get 1 or 2 of them with big spending power, whether they're the league below or your league, and you're up against it, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the teams that we talked about in Manly as well. I mean, there's a couple of teams, I suppose. One of them is in the Summer League, one's in the Isthmian League that have got the spending power that's beyond belief. He's the likes of Real Bedford, who've gone up into step three as well, and then of course Malden and Tiptree, who've got money coming out of every orifice. At step four. So and both those sides, you know. Realistically, I would say early doors, Gavin, probably favourites for both of the leagues that they're in. So, and it is weird as teams at that sort of level have got that sort of spending power already to be able to move on and push on. And you can only see, so I suppose, especially Malden, maybe they got the situation there of going right the way through quite quickly.
I think it's what I think it's fair to say. First of all, there's a lot of rumours around on league. A lot of things get rumoured around, and you see the magnitude of these team signings, and you put two and two together, and sometimes come up with four, sometimes come up with five. Truth is, I don't know the inner workings of Malden or Billericay, and you just look at the players that they sign and think, well, they do very well to do that, and good luck to them. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, there seems to be. It wasn't so long ago that the step four levels were to pick up a little bit of money for maybe a Saturday night out, and that was where it stood. Now people are making a living from those levels, and not having jobs as such, or making a very very good second income. And I think that just the demographics of non-league football have changed considerably over certainly the last sort of 5 or 6 years, in my opinion, and probably none more so felt than at our level at the south, to
Mm,
be honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dave, I mean, any sort of any
I, no,
ones that you've been
I'd
pushing?
just, I, before just touching on one or two individual sides, I'd just back up there what Gavin's just said about. I honestly think the non-league game is in its best position that it's been in. I think it's a really attraction. I think there was a figure just the other week, didn't it? I think it was on the BBC. Saturday that said there's an increase over the past 43% increase over the past 5 years, nearly 90% in the decade on attendances, with nearly 120,000 people watching right across, well, from the step four upwards. And I think it's just caught the imagination of it, and people are really upping up, and I think that filters down even down into your step fives and sixes, where the majority of Cornish football is played, step fours and things. So I think that non-league football is very much on the up, and some of the money that's coming into these clubs is starting to reflect that. In the gates and people, like the Enfield support there, as good as anybody's, but Cornwall has always been in a bit of a backwater, and it wasn't until really, I'm not saying it was just Helston ourselves that maybe changed that and went for promotion, but for years and years, nobody took promotion down here. The travelling and the geographical situation and things, and if you were an ambitious footballer to play, certainly outside of step six, even back in the 2000s, you had to drive 2 hours out of the county into Devon to go and play at the next level of football in there. That's all changed now, and if Cornish football is really on the up, and it's going to be quite interesting to next year. The Western League, where we've come back down into step five, we'll have 6-7 Cornish derbies now, because the Cornish sides have gone up, and in fact, if anything, it's more like the league that covered Cornwall and Devon when I first came into Cornwall back in the early 90s, and it's going to be very very strong. And so sides like Newquay have come up with. It'd be interesting because there's a lot of sides that have come up. You had your St Austell's, Newquay, are the two particular sides that have come up for promotion over the last 2 years on the back of players that didn't want to play at that next level. And so they were strong in that lane, and Newquay were strong with their players that clearly the players in that team could have played at high level but didn't want to travel. And it's really interesting that where St Austell are now, they've not had the best starts to it. I don't think they've scored a goal yet, and they've taken a a few sixes and sevens they've been beaten by, and that's now reflective of the club. They've got promotion, but then not been able to sustain it with the players, and you do tend to find that in Cornwall. But it's certainly going to be interesting. You've got the Mousehole and Falmouth in the Southern League at step 4. I think Mousehole certainly will be looking to wanting to push, and they've streamlined totally everything. They've just got the one side there now. The ladies' side is still going, but they've streamlined everything else just into one team. And Falmouth with their support, they've got a super support and backing of the F Troop. They had a real good finish to the end of last season. Their second half of the season mirrored our drop, and they went up. I think they will. I think they will do well to hold their own there and probably finish somewhere in mid-table would be a good success for them. But overall, Cornish football is really on the up, and what's coming through is the youngsters. We've entered a team as the under-16s. I'm just going across. I'm in the clubhouse here actually. That the game's going on out there at the moment. There's a representative side, Cornwall representative side, and we've entered a team in what they call the JPL. I don't know if you heard of that, Gavin. The JPL league for these youngsters, the Junior Premier League, which has never been heard of in Cornwall before, and they play on a Saturday, and this is under-16s. And we've entered a team into that because we feel that these boys are really, really, really good enough, and it's quite exciting. Bubbling underneath with the youth to go what we've already got here, that in the next 2 or 3 seasons Truro just might be finding themselves at 1 or 2 diamonds coming through their ranks then.
Well, we're just talking about, there's been some sort of Cornwall news broke just about a few minutes before we came on the show, and he's Derek at it again. It's William Aduwa has signed for 6'6" centre half, has signed from 21 years of age. I just hope that he's actually moved down to Cornwall, because one of his previous clubs was Barking. So I don't fancy that 7.5-hour journey every Saturday to go and play for Mousehole at home. But hopefully he's and he looks a big lad, shall we say, to say the least. 6'6" centre half. So
I know they've been looking centre because they just took Brody McConnell. Oh, what's he called? From Taunton on loan. But he didn't play from the Saturday. They didn't want them cup tied. He didn't want to be cup tied for Taunton. So I do know that they've been looking for a centre half in there. So he'll adjust. I'm sure he'll adjust to Cornish way of life. The Mousehole village, fishing village down there. Yeah.
Yeah, and he won't have to go through all the potholes anymore because he can get it straight off the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that I don't know if you've heard, Gavin, that was the story before. To get into the ground, you had to go in through the village to get into the ground. As you were coming into the ground, there was like 2 or 3 potholes there that you could.
It was the worst.
Coaching.
It was the worst. Really? It was the coaches couldn't get up there anyway. But it was, and they won't mind me saying this. You know, I said that it was probably the worst entrance to any non-league ground. I mean, I used to. My car sits very, very low, and the people behind me were always suffering because I just had to take it so slowly as you dipped and down and up and down and in it the pothole, trying to not lose your axle or your exhaust. Yeah.
Well, they've just spent quite a little bit of money and managed to get a road now that's come off, which they've done in the summer, in all fairness, quite quickly off the main road. Yes. And comes through the back area and goes straight into it, so it avoids all the town and doesn't upset anybody in the Mousehole village now. So which is I suppose quite good for them. But lads, the time's run away from us. I really am chuffed to have you back with me tonight, especially yourself, Steve, and of course Gavin as well. Great to have you on. We wish you all the very, very best with Helston and of course with Enfield for the rest of the season. And I'll be back on Sunday night with, of course, the Reposs Manager's View. Of course, back with Ware's Paul Howsey, Welling Garden City's Mark, and of course Waltham Abbey as well with Billy. And then back next week with Spencer Gore's coming on to make his debut after 15 years. I finally managed to get Spencer Gore on, of course, the main man down there at Chelmsford City. So he'll be on as well next week. And hopefully we might start our new feature next week as well. But more about that as we go on. But from me, from Gavin and from Steve, thank you for watching tonight.